What up, YouTube? Team Moves here. Here is my Throwback segment where I talk about the films that turned 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary. Wow. We got the Christopher Nolan sci fi classic Interstellar, which is set in the dystopian future where humanity is abroad in a catastrophic, bright, and feminine. And it follows a group of astronauts who travel through a wormhole near Saturn in search of a new home for humankind. And Interstellar, I remember watching this movie one in theaters back in 2014. I was blown away at how terrific it was. Matthew McConaughey gave a really excellent performance. Of course, he was coming off of his Oscar win for Dallas Buyers Club. He did an excellent job. You had Anne Hathaway, Timothy Chalamet in one of his earliest films before he became bigger as he is now. Jessica Chastain, Ellen Burstyn, Matt Damon. I mean, what not to love about Interstellar is really intriguing. The effects is terrific. It won a couple of Oscars, like best effects and stuff like that. So well deserved there. I mean, one of Nolan's best. I mean, if you guys haven't seen Interstellar, for some ever reason, go watch it. It's a really magnificent one. Of course, seeing Ellen Burstyn, um, and Jessica Chastain playing different versions of Matthew McConaughey's daughter. Uh, some of the moments in this would definitely leave you heartbreaking. I mean, Interstellar is just an excellent one. Also turning 10, we got Big Hero 6. I believe it's actually one best animated feature if I'm not mistaken. But Big Hero 6, of course, based on the Marvel superheroes of this superhero comic of the same name. Of course, man, 10 years ago here, we 10 years ago we met Baymax, one of the most iconic, one of the most best robots in history. There, of course, the voice talents like T.J. Miller was in this, Damon Wayans Jr., Genesis Rodriguez, a very nice cameo by Stan Lee, which I thought was terrific. If you guys don't know much about Big Hero 6, it tells the story of Hiro Hanada, who is his young robotics prodigy, and Baymax, who is his late brother's healthcare provider robot. They form a superhero team to combat a mass villain responsible for Tadashi's death. And this movie is just really heartfelt. I remember watching this one in theaters as well. I was blown away how great it was. The effects was great. It's such a shame we never got to see a sequel. I mean, since then we've had Big Hero 6 related stuff. Like there was that TV show on I believe Disney XD. Then of course there was the Baymax shorts on Disney Plus. How have we never gotten a sequel to Big Hero 6 is still beyond me. The movie was a massive hit in the box office. It did well at the Oscars. I still cannot believe we never got to see another Big Hero 6, man. It's a shame, but anyway. Alright, also turning 10, we got The Theory of Everything. Now, this was the movie that won Eddie Redmayne his first ever Oscar. I still think Michael Keaton should have won that year, but that's just me. Of course, this movie did star Eddie Redmayne as famed theoretical of physics Stephen Hawking. And, of course, you had, Felicity Jones was in this, directed by James Marsh. The Theory of Everything was an excellent film. Eddie Redmayne really embodied Stephen Hawking perfectly. Felicity Jones actually got an Oscar nomination for this, well deserved there. She might get her next Oscar nomination for The Brutalist, I'm guessing. But yeah, The Theory of Everything is a really magnificent one. Great chemistry by the likes of Jones and Redmayne. They really play off each other well. It really showcased on who Stephen Hawking was, and I mean, it's a really excellent one, worth giving a go. All right, also turning 10 is the movie Jezebel, which stars Sarah Snook, who plays this young woman who returns to her childhood home to recuperate from a car accident, and then there's this spirit that refuses to let her escape. It's pretty forgettable, to be honest. There. Also, now turning 20 this week, we got Alfie, which is a remake of a Michael Caine film, and this of course stars Jude Law as British-born ladyman Alfie, who explodes his job at a New York City Lebanese driver to meet and sleep with an attractive woman. You also have the likes of Marissa Tomei, Sienna Miller, Omar Epps. Michael Caine even has a role in this. It's actually not a bad little film. It's 2004 again was like the year of Jude Law. I mean, it felt like in here my mouth, but it really felt like in 2004 we was like the year of Jude Law. You know that he was in the High Heart Huckabees. He was at Closer, Sky Captain. The no, I think the holiday came out 2006. Yeah, that was so sick. I mean, yeah, that was just like his year. And Alfie was one of them. It's a really decent little film. Not as good as like the Michael Caine one, but actually pretty charming. All right, also turning 20, we got Fade to Black, which is a documentary about famed rapper Jay Z. It features the likes of Mary J. Blige, Beyonce, Foxy Brown, R. Kelly, Missy Elliott, Usher, and it's pretty much like a live concert at Madison Square Garden. It was meant to be Jay Z's final performance, but of course he ended up retiring, and he ended up coming back. They always say they retire, but they never do. Not a bad documentary though. I mean, Jay Z obviously one of the most iconic, influential artists in the business. A really decent little doc work given a go. All right, now films turning dirty this week. We got Double Dragon, based on the very popular video game series of the same name, starring Mark Dacascos as well as Scott Wolf as brothers Jimmy and Billy Lee, along with Alyssa Milano and Robert Patrick. And pretty much takes place in like an earthquake that crippled LA in 2007, and the city is a style and mix between a post-apocalyptic and 80s slash 90s punk environment. It also features the likes of Vanna White was also in this, Andy Dick and all, and it's terrible. I'm sorry. This is of course the 90s there was always lots of film adaptations of video games, and not all of them was the best. Like Mortal Kombat was okay, Street Fighter, but the 90s also saw the release of Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, and yeah, this was just a terrible one. All right. Also turning dirty, there is I almost say Guillermo. There's Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein. Of course, starring Robert De Niro, along with the likes of Helen Bonham Carter. Of course, you have Kenneth Branagh who plays Victor Frankenstein with Robert De Niro as the monster. And this is not like the best adaptation, obviously, but it's actually not so bad. I mean, it's not really like Kenneth Branagh's best work or anything like that. But he really did a really decent job with this. Of course, you had Helen Bonham Carter, John Cleese, Aidan Quinn. Uh, the performances like De Niro as the monster is something you never really would forget there. I mean, it's a really decent horror film worth giving a go. Also turning dirty, we got The War, which stars Kevin Costner and Elijah Wood, where two kids are determined to build the ultimate treehouse as their father, played by Costner, returns from Vietnam and hopes to rebuild his family. And this is actually not like a great film. It's actually a pretty decent, father son connection, chemistry with the likes of Costner and Wood. Really decent film worth giving a go. I mean, the 90s was pretty much a really good time for Kevin Costner. Not so much now, thanks to Horizon, but yeah. Alright, now, films turning 40. Wow. We, of course, got A Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, I just did my review for the original Nightmare on Elm Street. 40 years of Freddy Krueger. It's insane. Of course, Robert Englund, one of the most iconic performances there is, as Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. Terrific performance there. A very young Johnny Depp in his film debut here. Definitely one of the most best slashers of the 80s. Pretty much similar, uh, pretty much made Freddy Krueger an icon. I mean, Freddy Krueger obviously is one of the most iconic horror icons there. Like one of the most iconic killers around, with the likes of Jason, Michael Myers, and all. I mean, come on, a film about someone who kills you in your dream. That was really an interesting premise back then, and obviously they've been doing Freddy Krueger movies like years ago, but Nothing beats the original, So yeah, now, boy, 4 years was a really cool year for was a cool week for horror because there was also Silent Night, Deadly Night. 4 years ago we had Freddy Krueger, but 4 years ago we also had a killer Santa Claus. Of course, about the story of a young man named Billy who suffers from PTSD over witnessing the murder of his parents on Christmas Eve, and pretty much and of course his subsequent upbringing in an abusive Catholic orphanage, and in adulthood, the Christmas holiday leads him to a psychological breakdown and emerges as a killing spree, donning a Santa costume. Now, of course, they actually did do a remake for this back in 2012, which, unpopular to say, the remake is, in my opinion, the remake is a little better. I mean, if you guys have not seen the remake of Silent Night, more better than Hang Intentions Bang. But, Silent Night, Deadly Night was something very interesting because it was literally a horror movie about someone dressing up as Santa and slaying. This is pretty much the Terrifier 3 of that decade. And of course, they did do a couple of sequels, which the sequels were hit and miss there. But Silent Night, Deadly Night is a lot of fun. It's not like it's not a classic as, let's say, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, or anything like that. But it's still pretty fun. Of course, at the time there was always like some iconic Christmas slashes, like obviously coming off of Black Christmas and all. And Silent Night, Deadly Night was a pretty cool one if you guys ever seen that. All right, now other films turning 40, we got Oh God, You Devil, which of course has George Burns, and is a follow up of his classic movie Oh God, which the first Oh God is a really good one. Sequel isn't so good, so there's that. There's also No Smart Affair, which stars the likes of John Cryer, Demi Moore, Tate Donovan, Tim Robbins, a very young Jennifer Tilly. This is actually made their acting debuts, if I'm not mistaken. And it's where like the 16-year-old high school student Charles Cummings, played by John Cryer, um, and his aspiring photographer. One day, he happens across 22-year-old Laura, played by Demi Moore, a singer at a local nightclub, and he becomes enraptured with her. And of course, he shoots down his romantic adventures, and she allows him to like photograph her here. And so, yes, of course, John Cryer. This was like one of his one of his earliest films. Of course, he will have like more bigger promises as Ducky and Pretty in Pink. Obviously, nowadays you might know John Cryer as from Two and a Half Men fame. Of course, that's Alan Harper in Two and a Half Men. Oh, froze up on his character name. But anyway, of course, he played Lex Luthor recent in Supergirl. I mean, John Cryer is always great, and he was actually pretty solid. But yeah, it's not really his more memorable film though. So yeah, of course, you had like Tim Robbins making his like earliest film, Jennifer Tilly before Chucky fame, and so yeah, some interesting cast members in this. But that's pretty much it there. Let me leave you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one, I should probably say Big Hero 6, because that's the better one. I will probably say Interstellar, because that's just excellent. 20-year one, I'm going to go with Alfie. 30-year one, I'm going with Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein. And the 4-year one will be Nightmare on Elm Street. Anyway, drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This is Simon.